Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Delaney. Today we're going to be talking about the Hyper Natural face palette from NATASHA DENONA, and this one has been getting some mixed reviews, so I definitely wanted to throw my hat into the ring and hopefully this is helpful in some way. We're going to be talking about the shades. Do I think they work on others, on myself? What is the shade range like? Does the formula compare to other NATASHA DENONA products? As you all may know or may not know if you're new to my channel, I am a NATASHA DENONA enthusiast. I have a bunch of palettes and different products from her, so I kind of know what the formulas are like for other products. Definitely have a large collection to swatch and compare from, so I definitely have opinions on this formula and this palette. So if you are interested in seeing the answer to do you need this palette, then keep on watching. Alright, we're going to start off with the basics about this palette. Here she is. This is the beautiful Hyper Natural face palette, and first off, the packaging is beautiful, super reflective, definitely reminiscent of her other palettes with this kind of packaging. A lot of the eyeshadow palettes have this same thing to them. It even has the holes in the back where you can actually punch out the shades and either get refills or even swap them out if the pan size is the same with the other palettes, so you can kind of create your own situation going on. This packaging is really beautiful. Here's the palette on the inside. You do get 3 bronze contour shades, you get 2 blush shades, you get 5 eyeshadow shades, and this one right here is the hyper, like, super sparkly wet shade. And then the rest of them are a new Hyper Silk formula, and this whole palette is talc free. It's also paraben free, cruelty free, and apparently made in Italy. If that is something that you are looking into, then this palette may be for you. Now, I will say, starting off with just visually, I don't think that the bronzer shades are going to work for everyone. You have the light, the medium, and the dark, and it's not like super, super, super dark. The blushes, very light and could probably work on medium, maybe deep skin, depending on how much you build it up, but mostly light to medium. And then the eyeshadow shades are pigmented, so it does go from pretty light to pretty deep, but I will say, I don't know, I kind of do miss a matte shade. These are all shimmer shades. Apparently it's made to just like swipe on with your finger, and they're meant to look very natural on the eyes. This palette retails for $62. I am an affiliate with NATASHA DENONA. That will not affect my review of this product, but I will say there are a ton of NATASHA DENONA products that, as you can see from past videos, I love deeply and stand behind 100%. I have mostly all of the palettes, which I have another one on the way and I'm very excited about. So I do know all the formulas. I do love the formulas that I have, and I do have videos about which ones I like best, like which palettes I like best. So go ahead and look for recommendations in there if you want, but if you do decide to buy anything from NATASHA DENONA's website, you can get 15% off with my code, Delaney Russo. It's popped up on the screen right here. It is an affiliate code, so I do make a small portion of commission off of that purchase, but it does go to a small creator, and if you did find anything because of me, I would be so appreciative if you buy it through the website and use my code. But of course, as always, use other people's codes too if you can. I don't know, just get some money off so you don't have to pay full price, basically. Girl math, right? But yeah, so back to the palette. Beautiful shades. I have used all of the shades in this palette now, so I feel free to give my opinion on these now. So let's go ahead and answer the question, do you need this palette, in my opinion, and then we'll explain why, because I don't want to make you wait for the whole video to know my answer. So I will say, no, you don't need this palette. And you might be saying, wow, you love NATASHA DENONA. Why wouldn't you say you should get this palette? Well, I personally get a lot of use out of this palette. I am wearing the palette today. I have the pink eyeshadow on. I have this shade all over the lid, the shade Dreamy. I have the lighter 2 shades of the bronze contours on, and I do have the red blush on today, and this is what it looks like. It is a new talc-free formula, and I love that it's talc-free, but I will say I like the formula. I like how blendable it is. I like how buildable it is. I do like that you can keep building and building and building and it's not going to look crazy on your skin. But I will say the shades, like the actual colors of the shades, are not up to par in my opinion. So this shade here comes off a little bit muddy. I mean, it looks fine if I build it slightly, like just add a tiny bit, but the deeper and deeper I go with this very, very light shade, it doesn't have, I don't know, like I like that cool tone contour, and this is almost more of like an olive tone. It's hard to describe. I'm a little distracted because I don't know where we left off. I have no idea where we left off. My dad just came to pick up the dogs, so they went crazy and I had to go talk to him for a bit. So like I was saying, this medium shade, it actually does work for me. It's nice and buildable, and the shade doesn't seem too like gray toned on me. I usually like gray tone, but this one is just like, I don't know, it's a little too much even for someone who's really fair skinned. And the deep contour on me works. So I can't imagine how it would work on someone who's even more deeply complected than me. Yeah, I don't know how that works. I do wish that they came out with this exact palette, but deeper shades. Just like they did with the face palette, like the Glam Face palette. I wish they did that with this one. I don't think that this poppy pink blush is going to work on really deep skin tones. It's really light on me, and I can barely see it. This is actually the red shade. This is the red shade. So this light pink one is not the most impactful. They do look very beautiful. I believe it does look really natural on the skin, and I know that was what they were going for, but I don't know. I wish it had just a bit more, just some more, like, I don't know. It works for me. I don't think it will work for everybody, and that's why I say it might not be something I could fully recommend and saying, do you need this? Because I am definitely really fair skinned. Not everybody in the world is fair skinned, and I don't think most people are. So for most of the population, I think is not going to be able to get a lot of use out of this. The eyeshadows are probably the most universally flattering shades in the palette, especially these like brown shades over here. The pink one will work. It's what I have on my eyes today. I will say that the formula of these particular shadows, it does remind me of the formula in the other palettes, but you can tell there's a difference. And I will say that the Dreamy shade is definitely the standout shade. It's super sparkly, beautiful, very little fallout. The other shades are beautiful, but I don't know. I'm missing the mattes. I'm missing those NATASHA DENONA iconic mattes. And I wish they were included in this palette. I think we don't need, or at least I do not need, this shade on the end and this one. I feel like one of those could have been a deeper matte, and then we could have had like one mid-tone matte shade to kind of round it out a bit. I don't know. I'm kind of just torn on this because I can personally use it, and I personally probably will get a lot of use out of it, but I know that most people won't. And that's factored into my recommendation. So we've covered the eyeshadows. Everything's being talc free. I think that's the difference of the formulas that I'm feeling, because I do have a ton of NATASHA DENONA palettes. I have the My Dream collection blushes. I have the cream blushes in the palettes. I have cream blush in the Glam Face palette. I love the cream formulas, and I kind of wish that these were the cream formula just because I probably would get even more use out of it. But the powder is still pretty, and it still looks very beautiful and natural on the face. I don't know. I wish there was a glowy product in here as well, because these are all matte. It's very matte. It's very no makeup, but I wish that it was like a no makeup with a little bit of glow, because that's what I prefer. So, I don't know. And sorry if the lighting is different in this video. I kind of wanted to bring in the sunshine a little bit. I have my curtain open right here so you can really see what it looks like in natural lighting. And it really does look gorgeous. So I have trouble saying that I don't like this product, because that's not true. I do like this product. I just don't think that the general population who loves makeup will need it. Hopefully that's clear. I don't know. I wish they had more shade options. I would feel more comfortable giving this my full recommendation of like, you need it. And if the contour shades were not a weird-ish shade, I would feel even better about it. Brutally honest review time, the contour shades, I'm probably not going to reach into this palette for. Love my L'Oreal Blue Me Bronze It. I love my Kosas bronzer. I do love my Juvia's Place bronzers, the pressed one, like the little palette with 2 of them. I think there are a lot of good options for contour and bronzer, and this one I'm just not going to reach into this palette for specifically, but if I need an all-in-one face palette to take with me, this one is nice, and I probably will bring it with me for that reason. The blushes, obviously, like I said, the red one, that's where it's at. It's beautiful. I do feel like the longevity of it, it lasts, but the initial application is a lot brighter than it will be in a few hours. It kind of settles into the skin, so make sure that when you apply it, you apply a little bit more than you think you'll need because it's going to fade a little bit. But I will say that I did wear this at work for 9, almost 10 hours, and it did stay all day. I could still see the blush, so it didn't go away completely. But I will say it definitely changes. Even from when I applied it, this looks a lot more subtle. So just keep that in mind. All right, the eyeshadows, the longevity is not bad, but not the best either. I feel like shimmer shadows usually don't have the same longevity as the mattes, and I think that's part of what I'm missing here is those mattes, because the NATASHA DENONA formula usually lasts a long time on my eyes. And this one, it does fade a little bit faster than the other formulas. And maybe it's because it's talc free, maybe it's because it's a different formula, I don't know. It's still beautiful and it still has that beautiful sheen. And this dreamy shade is just like, very similar to the one in the Glam Face palette. Love that. And I've hit pan on both of those shades, the really hyper sparkly ones. But this is a new formula, and I will say I hope they keep it up. I don't know if it's the same exact formula that's in the new palettes. I Need a Nude. The I Need a Nude palette has shades that are kind of similar to this, that kind of wet shade. I do hope they continue with that because I really, really, really love it. But this one is so hyper sparkly and just looks great on the lid for a really long time. I do appreciate that. So, in conclusion, for this particular palette, they need to make it in a deeper option, just like they did with the Glam Face palette, which leads me to what would I recommend instead of this if you are looking to get this, but you don't think these shades are going to work for you. So, if you're looking within NATASHA DENONA, which I still would recommend because 9 times out of 10, her formulas really, really work for me, and I think they work for a lot of people. But I would 1000% say, as you probably could guess by the time, how many times that I did mention it in this video, just go for this one. This is the NATASHA DENONA Glam Face palette, and this one is in different packaging. This one is more similar to the eyeshadow palettes kind of packaging, the Hyper Natural one, and this one is like a little bit thinner, and it's way more metallic packaging. This one has the ability to take the shades out. This one, to my knowledge, does not have the things on the back. I kind of love this though, even though you can't take the shades out. I've never actually done that. I've never swapped them out really. There may be a way to do it, I just don't know. But let me show you the inside of this palette real quick because you're definitely gonna see how much I enjoyed this. So, there you go. As you can tell by the inside of this palette and how dirty it is and crazy it is, I have hit pan on both shimmer shades, and I'm getting really, really, really close on this transition shade right here. And I usually use the light shades most and then deepen it up. That's why this smoke shade doesn't really have a dip in it, because I barely use that one. Usually I'll just use it on like times where I wear this palette and I want to go out, like transition from day to night. But most of the time when I wear this, I usually use transition in the crease. Transition goes in the crease, and then I deepen up with the crease shade. I know that's kind of backwards, but for people who are really light, you can kind of get away with that. If you have a medium a light medium skin tone, then you probably will use this as a crease shade and deepen up with smoke. But I do like the options in here, and then you have the inner and outer corner shades. I do like that it gives you that kind of help if you're a beginner. I use both of them on the lid just to get different looks, different effects. So both of them really work for me. And I don't know, this particular formula, oh my gosh, is nothing coming out? Okay, there we go. So here are the shimmers, and they are super metallic and just absolutely gorgeous. And let me see if it shows up better in the swatch. Just stunning. Look at that shine. It really catches the light so gorgeously. And then the mattes, obviously, they're gonna swatch like the normal mattes from Natasha Denona. It's kind of harder to get like a really good swatch of a matte, but they're the beautiful velvety feel. Longevity is there. And then you get the two face products in here, and you get this little window thing that keeps them from getting all dirty because there is a cream product in here. And I love this cream blush. There's a heavy divot in here you can kind of see. Haven't quite hit pan yet. And then there's also a heavy divot in this highlighter. This highlighter is absolutely amazing. I wish that this was in a single. I do love that it's in this one because that's kind of the point of a face palette. You're gonna bring it traveling with you, and so you have everything all in one. This is so good. I can use this shade, I can use this shade, I can use all 5 of these eyeshadow shades. So if you're gonna buy a face palette, make sure it's something that you can use all the shades of. That's the best way to get the bang for your buck. And the formula, it's great. So the cream blush has great longevity. It looks beautiful on the skin. This shade works for me. The highlighter works perfectly for me, even though I am a little bit more on the pale side. It still works for me. It's not too yellow. It actually has a beautiful like champagne-y gold look to it, and it doesn't make this weird cast on me. You can kind of see at the bottom when I turn my hand. It doesn't have a weird cast, but it definitely has a bit of pigment to it. It looks beautiful on many, many different skin tones. It's not too icy. Such a beautiful highlighter. And it has this beautiful glow that's not glitter, and I really appreciate that. This palette to me is perfection. I don't know if everyone has the same kind of love affair with this palette that I do, but this one quickly became one of my favorite palettes from Natasha Denona, and I have probably upwards of 24 palettes, not including like face products and face palettes. I'm talking eyeshadow palettes. It's upwards in the 20s, but this one quickly became a favorite. And the best part is they have a deep option, so I will pop that up right here. I do not have that one personally, but if you have a medium to deep skin tone, this one would probably be more geared towards you. And the shades are all deeper and they still would work on my skin tone. I think they would just be a little darker, which is a little bit more pigmented, a little bit deeper, different shades. So I love that they did 2 separate palettes for that. I think that's what they should have done with the everyday face palette, because is it really everyday if not everyone can use it and you only do one? So that is my critique, but definitely go get this one, and in whichever shade range you want or need. But yeah, enough ranting about this one. Again, this is the Glam Face Palette, if you didn't hear me say it 10 million times. So if you want a similar color story to the eyeshadows from the Glam Face Palette, you're in luck, because Natasha Denona does eyeshadows in neutrals all the time. So I would say if you don't want the face shades in your palette and you want something that's pretty similar to the shades in that one, I would say get the Glam palette. The Glam eyeshadow palette has a pink, it has the deeper matte shades. It's almost like a charcoal shade. It has the browns, but it does have the same shimmer kind of shades in there. It just doesn't have like a deep shimmer shade. It has this one's probably the deepest of the shimmers, but it has a very similar kind of feel to it because it still has those like everyday shades you would want. I do believe that this one is a little bit more, I don't know, it's a little bit more versatile So you do get those mattes, you do get the transition shades, you get more options. If you don't really give a crap about the actual face shades like the blush and the bronzer, then maybe just do this instead. For $62, you get 5 eyeshadow shades. For $69, you get 15. So if you're interested in the eyeshadow, just go for the palettes, skip that altogether. If you want to stick with NATASHA DENONA and you just want the blushes, they have options. They have palettes, they have singles, they have the Bloom one, which has 2 creams, 2 powder. They're kind of like a blush lighter situation. There's duos with a cream and a highlighter, kind of like a blush lighter situation. Then you have the minis that have a little blush and highlighter situation. There's a bunch of different options if you still want the NATASHA DENONA formula, but don't want like the face palette. And obviously that goes without saying, but I'm just trying to give you other options. Most of the shades are very everyday kind of shades, and especially if you build them with a light hand, they can still be that natural looking shade, even though they might have a little bit more of pigment and glow. I tend to not buy face palettes with eyeshadow shades and face shades unless it's from NATASHA DENONA, because I do love all of the shades, like all of the formulas from NATASHA. So I don't think I actually have any other all-in-one like eyeshadow and blush and whatever. I decluttered most of those if I did have them. But if you want bronzers, again, there's so many different options for you. I would just go ahead and buy the bronzer shade that you want, and then go for the Glam Face palette and get your highlighter and blush and your eyeshadows. That would probably be the best deal. But yeah, one thing that the Hyper Natural Face palette does not have is a highlighter, and I personally miss that. I went ahead and added highlighter. This is not the blush that's glowy. Because we're sticking with the brand for this video, I added the Super Glow. This is an old favorite of mine. Heavily used. This has been a favorite for so long, and it actually has, it's like wearing off on the back. This is the Super Glow in 01 Fair. They have a bunch of different shades. It's perfect. It looks not too icy. It looks like a natural highlight on me, just like my skin is glowing and wet, which is amazing. That's what I want out of a highlighter. And I used it on the inner corner of my eyes as well. So just know you're not getting a highlighting shade if you are getting the palette. So final thoughts, things that I would change about the palette. I would say it needs to have a wider, either a wider shade range within the palette if you're going to do one universal one, or make the palette available in different complexions. I will say that would probably be the best thing, because I don't think everyone needs to carry around every single shade. So even if you did the trio option in a light to light medium, and then medium to deep kind of a situation, I think that would work perfectly, just like they did with the other one. I feel like they should get back to that. And I don't know if it's because of the talc-free formulation, if they just wanted to stick with those shades. I have no idea what happened on the back end, but for the next launch, I would hope that they would be a little bit more inclusive with that. The campaign pictures do show it being used on a wide range of skin tones. I just personally can't imagine how much it would do if this is all that it does for me, and I'm very, very fair. But yeah, moral of the story is, I don't think you need the new one. I personally am going to use it a lot. This is going to be a great travel palette for me. I can get use out of all of the bronzer shades and all of the blush shades. The light one is really light on me, but I can still use it. And I can use all the eyeshadow shades. So for me, if you're a fair-skinned girly like me, you probably will really like this palette if you like the formula and the shades. Again, the bronzer shades are a little wonky with like the gray undertone that they decided to do, but you could still make it work with a light hand. But anyone who's deeper than that, I don't know if you're gonna love this one, and I say just skip it and go to the Glam Face palette. But that is all I have for you today. This one palette did not sway me from my love for the formulas and for all of the products that I already own by NATASHA. I do hope that we are going to steer away from the formulas in this one and go back to the old ones. Maybe I just don't like change, I don't know. But yeah, I still have a lot of products from the brand that I absolutely love, and I hope we get back to that. There are even some that I hope to try in the future because shockingly I don't have all of them. I really would love to try that, the berry collection. That looks so beautiful. The blush, the blushes just look so incredible. I didn't know if the highlighter was gonna be too deep for me, but the blushes look absolutely incredible from that one. And I do have a palette on the way. I did buy another one. Shocking. I held out on this one for a long time. That was some self-control. But then recently, I don't know, spring vibes, Taurus season is coming soon, and I just had to get it. And so you will see that one very shortly when it arrives and I actually can film with it. But that is all I got for this video. I answered the question, do you need the palette? Do you really need it? That is up to you, how you want to spend your money. Do you think the shades are going to work for you? Do you think the formulas are going to work for you? Watch other people's videos. Everyone kind of has mixed reviews on it, so you can see it hopefully on other skin tones as well. Watch other creators' videos. Make an informed decision before you spend $62, but also if you want to get some money off that or any other thing, you know what to do with my code. So yeah, that is all I have for you today. I hope you're having an amazing day or night wherever you are, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.